Minnesota Governor Tim Walz recently made a statement that former Vice President Kamala Harris only elected him as her running mate because he could code talk to white guys. This is disrespectful and condescending, and you and I need to talk about this. I'm Marcus Peter. Now, as I mentioned earlier, he made the statement saying he was elected to essentially win the white male vote.
I knew I was on the ticket. I would argue because we did a lot of amazing progressive things in Minnesota that improved people's lives. But I also was on the ticket, quite honestly, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this.
And this is why. The Democratic Party, now I'm going to be very honest here, identity politics has completely permeated our political structure. It's present on both sides. But you really see this come to a visible forefront with the Democratic Party, who have completely espoused modern day ideologies and identifications with these subsets of the culture for the sake of their vote. And that's why, if you take a look at the demographic right now, it is typically, especially, college-educated women and women of a certain age, so about 20s and over, that were voting Democrat, that were voting for Kamala Harris. And it was willful because they made abortion the target of their campaign. And knowing that Kamala Harris would only be able to appeal to that very particular subset. So what did they need to do? Well, they ran Tim Walz as the candidate that would go on to try to win the male vote. And it was a condescending thing to do, because this is talking down, oh, look, I'm a white man, I'm a regular white man, and so I'm going to talk to you, vote for me because of this. This isn't what politics is supposed to be about. Mind you, he made this remark during a forum at the Harvard Kennedy School. It fell flat, obviously. This last electoral process showed that it was a sweep. And that means that the Democratic Party has to rethink its campaign policies if it wants to continue to be taken seriously in a bipartisan system. Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip and fellow Minnesotan, actually labeled Walz as delusional for believing this, because he didn't sway the white male voter through these tactics. In fact, frankly, he's disrespected them. The Washington Examiner, upon the making of this statement by Tim Walz, editorialized, Walz's approach was tragically stupid and wholly un-American, and they're right. Because this is a reduction of individuals to radical demographic categories, and basically you're positing that they're incapable of rational thought outside of the demographics that they fulfill. It's a principle that undermines rational thought amongst the populace. It treats people as subsets rather than individuals capable of reason. Corey Brooks, pastor and commentator, argued Walz's comments exemplified the absurdity of radical and racial identity politics. I agree. Corey states, there's no lowlier man than the one who thinks of himself in racial terms. I completely agree. And yes, I'm a minority. I mean, think about this. I mean this in no uncertain terms. I'm a black, Asian, minority man who came from an obscure nation in Southeast Asia, who's now telling you the exact same truth because I'm appealing to objective truth here, not because I'm appealing to the narratives that are sold by the subset I'm supposed to identify with. The problem here is that politics in the Western world that have jettisoned God are running into the problem of what's called reductive categorization. Christopher Hitchens, yes, that neo-atheist Christopher Hitchens, actually warned us. If we identify and evaluate people based on group identity, then this is his statement here. People who think with their epidermis or genitalia or their clan are the problem to begin with. Because if you start thinking like that, you're incapable of expansive, rational inquiry. Policies, not personalities, must be our focus when we think about the governance of a nation. It shouldn't be emotion, it should be reason that governs how we make our decisions when it comes to electing leaders in the public sphere. But we've completely substituted reason for amusement. And then therefore we've gotten showmen instead of leaders, and therefore we've lost sight. We no longer have leadership. We have a kind of clown show that we call politics. You take a look at our founding ideals. Thomas Jefferson frankly believed that we have national unity despite political differences, and that's a good thing. I want to quote him here. He said this, "I never considered a difference of opinions in politics as cause for withdrawing from a friend." We can't say that today. You don't share my politics, you're no longer my friend. That's how ridiculous it's become. Aristotle warned us. We need to reclaim natural reason here. The good for man is an activity of the soul in accordance with virtue. That's how we ought to approach our politics. The USCCB actually emphasized that when we think about our politics, this is the Catholic response here. This is how we ought to think. Responsible citizenship is a virtue and a participation in political life as a moral obligation. If you and I can completely break away from identity politics and think rightly about virtue, moral obligation, and an appeal to objective reason so that policies that best befit the flourishing of the human person and therefore the greater expansion of human flourishing in society and our nation, then, as Catholics, we are engaging in politics rightly. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Marcus Peter.